Hello everybody, today I will be completing the April 2021 SAT exam. As always, this will be the first video of the reading section, which will include the two first passages. The next video will include the next three passages, and then we move on to the writing section. So, we can start. Okay. This passage is after my Peter. The passage is set in 1935. Anna is working with newsreel to create a short documentary film. Okay. Anna speaks Cantonese with an American accent, her father has always said, but no Mandarin or Russian. Now she requires an interpreter to tell her how delighted she is to visit her homeland. It's just as well as the newsreel is silent. She thinks the announcer was over. Okay. So the important part to know here is she speaks Cantonese, American accent, no Mandarin, an interpreter. So it's kind of ironic in a way. She's doing a documentary, but basically she's not like enveloped in as much of her culture as she is expected to. Newsreel films at her U-Garden, framed by engagement film. Onomatopoeic Chinese word for the pneumatic tune system is pung. He films her on the bun, pointing out junks, rubbing the powder. For luck, there are more cards in it, though she might. Okay, this is just showing how they filmed it, basically. If they ask a question for this, just show the film. That's what we say. Film. A pair of charms cross in front of her, bending she marvels bitterly at the modernity. Why? It reminds me of Berlin. It was looking old, but it looks nothing. Mostly, though, they're more Chinese than she ever imagined. Maintaining the black and white monks in their yellow robes, turning it more than she's ever seen. And this she keeps to herself. Okay, this is important. Keeps to herself. Secretly, she feels like an extra again. Is glad of her chic Western wardrobe, Chanel suits for helping her stand out. Okay, the Mayfair Mannequin Academy named her world's best dressed woman in 1934. Not bad for a laundryman's daughter, she wrote to her father at the time, but he didn't reply. Okay, she finds herself waiting for newsreels to say action, pausing and in her way to put they laugh when she still wants blah blah blah. She feels naked without stage makeup light. She has to do picture particular gesture. Setting the scene. Okay. She lets you wind her up like a twin toy. Finally, she leans on a rail overlooking and waiting for him. And when you look like a tourist, he tells her, and she frowns. On knowing themselves to raise a zip modesty. Okay, she outfits herself and she sheds her western dresses and suits for sleek. I don't know how to say that. The milky eye tail measures erupts a knotted string around. She's worked as a seamstress at her father's laundry when she was a child, she says. And he nods when someone translates. Afterwards, she shows off her new going native. She tells him that he touches her finger. She blends in better, at least until people address her. She can't recall the last time she went invisible like this, but she fears getting lost in the crowd. Later, she'll wear those in church. Okay. Which choice best describes what happens in the passage? Well, okay, a character's visit to her native country inspires her to investigate her ancestral history. I don't know about ancestral. Probably not. Okay, I'll leave this as middle, like that. Character considers how she had to comply with expectations in her. No, It's about her culture. And a character compares the customs of one country to those of another country. I wouldn't say so. She's not comparing customs. Character's work on a project causes her to reflect on her place. Yes, this is correct. Right? She's working on a project and the film, and that causes her to reflect, right? Her with the clothing and the right here, how she kind of interprets herself in the Chinese culture and stuff like that. So I think that's the best one. This is the best. I don't think this is wrong because I think it's ancestral. Nothing with ancestral. Which choice best supports the idea that Anna's ability to speak Cantonese does not help her communicate with the people she meets in China? Oh, and her father, right? And with an American, but no, now she requires an interpreter. Yeah, I think that's good. Does not help her communicate with the people. Well, the people she meets, I guess. So this is probably, we don't know anything about meeting. It's probably not that one, actually. Alright, so yeah. So then when that's later, then it must be here. 11 to 14. This is here. No, yeah. 11 to 14 doesn't make sense. Let's see if it's D. Otherwise, it would be A. 53. Eating a fan 20 seconds adding. And then, no, it doesn't make sense. It's not D. So then, it must be A, yeah. It does not help her communicate. Yeah. It's A, yeah. Based on the passage, which choice best describes Anna's initial reaction to China? Well, she marvels. Now she cries to tell her how delighted she is to visit her homeland. Her films are okay, blah blah blah. There are more cars there. Kind of a surprise, right? I think it was a surprise mostly. But she marvels blithely. Yeah, it's like a surprise, and yeah, kind of. She didn't expect it. She's baffled because she's not familiar with the local customs. Maybe. I wouldn't say that's the best, but she's intimidated. No, not intimidated. She's overcome with admiration for the fashion. She's surprised because it is not antiquated as she had imagined it to be. Well, that is true, right? I think it's D now. Because remember how she said the modernity, right? How modern it was. It was not antique, right? Old, right here, old Cathay. Looks nothing like Grauman's Theater, so kind of that she didn't expect kind of it to be that modern type style, so it was not antiquated. So yeah, I think she is overcome now. It's not A, but you could say she's overcome with admiration for the fashion she sees there. She's overcome with the fashion. Mostly though, there are more Chinese than she ever can. But it's not about the fashion, it's the type of people. Yeah. Which choice provides the best evidence? Well, it's right here, 22 to 25. Yep, B. In lines 32 and line 78, the phrase stand out. Well, okay. And this she keeps to herself. Secretly, she feels like an extra again. Is glad of her chic Western wardrobe, Chanel suits for helping her stand out. You look like a tourist, he tells her, and she frowns on the way to it. Oh wait, what was the other line? 68, I think? I forgot. Let me just check. 78, okay. She can't recall the last time she felt invisible like this, but she fears getting lost in the crowd. She relies on newsreel to pick her out on the camera to make her stand out. So maybe anything with visibility. Highlight Anna's active participation. No. Portraying Anna as materialistic. No. She's trying to kind of find herself as a person. Demonstrate that Anna is unable to successfully assimilate into Chinese culture. underscore the importance Anna places on feeling distinctive. Demonstrate that she's unable to successfully assimilate into Chinese culture. Well, do we get any? She blends in better, at least until people address her in manner she can't recall the last time. But she fears getting lost in the crowd. She relies on newsreel to pick her out on the camera to make her stand out. Later years showed. I don't know if we definitively know if she's unable. Like, this would be like assuming in a way. Underscore the importance Anna places on feeling distinctive. Well, they did do that because she was afraid to be lost in the crowd, so she relied on the newsreel to pick her out, right? She wanted to be distinctive. If it's between, I'll go with D, but I think this is too much to assume that she was unable to successfully assimilate. And like, yeah, I don't think it's that. Yeah, I don't think it's C. That was a tough one. In the context, the fifth paragraph, lines 33 to 36. The Mayfair American Academy of New York named her the world's best dressed woman in 1934. Not bad for a laundryman's daughter, she wrote. Well, Rila Anna have not spoken. No, it's not. That's not the purpose. Introduce a contrast between her current successes. Introduce a contrast between her current success and her modest upbringing. Maybe. Emphasize that Anna has received numerous accolades. No. It's not numerous. There was one. Provide details about the trajectory of her career. Well, okay, this could be compared with B. Let's see. And her modest upbringing. Well, Mayfair the world's best dressed woman in 1934. Not bad for a laundryman's daughter, she wrote to her. Well, there is a kind of contrast, right? Because there was a contrast with kind of the idea of being a laundryman's daughter, and no one could expect her to be the world's best dressed woman, right? So there's a contrast of her, basically her childhood to where she is now. So a contrast, you got her occurrences. Yeah, I think it's B. B is the best. Yeah. In contrast, what is the primary significance of Anna's act of taking a photograph of newsreel? Take a picture of him. Oh wait, was it here? Wait, newsreels. Little turn. Sure, he captures until he looks over. What are you doing? She lifts her own Leica to take a picture of him. Okay, right here. You look like a tourist, he tells her, and she frowned. Oh, no. She said. Yeah, also back to question 5. This is kind of the assimilation, right? You can't say she was unable to assimilate. So, yeah, back to that one. So it's D, yeah. 7. What is the point of taking a photograph? A response to this act propelled Anna to reassess how she is presenting herself? Yeah, maybe. A dismissal of this act causes her to realize that she has less autonomy. I wouldn't say that. An indifference toward this act forces Anna to. It's not an indifference. An acceptance of this act allows Anna to become more confident. Maybe. It looked like a tourist detail, and she frowns. On the wing says, as in to hide them from gaze. Waiting for him, and when he raises up, she lifts her own leg to take a picture. Look like a tourist, he tells her, and she frowned. On the wing to hide them from gaze. I think it's A. A response to this act propels Anna to reassess how she is presenting herself to others. An acceptance of this act allows Anna to become more confident in her well, it's not interactions with newsreel. This is the problem. It's with the other it kind of allows her to kind of basically assimilate through her like the clothing and stuff like that. Kind of realization in a way. So, yeah. How she's presenting herself to others, and then that's evident through the way she dresses after that. As used in line 75, recall most nearly means what? She blends badly until people address her in Mandarin. She can't recall, she can't remember. Yeah. That was pretty easy. According to the passage, just dressing in Chinese attire causes Anna to feel that she is more anonymous, become more comfortable. I wouldn't say more comfortable, have a more appreciation. No. I approach her everyday active. No, I think it's A. Yeah. And the passage indicates that the items Anna purchased try to later serve her a means for financial gain. Yep. No. And that's evident right here. And later, she wears those dresses in movies and charges studios an extra fee to rent her wardrobe. That's the monetary value. So that passage is completed. Okay, questions 11 through 20. According to a new paper in Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, most of us have an instinctual anti-profit bias. We view for-profit companies which inherent distrust. The more profitable they are, the more harm they do in society. In fact, research shows the opposite is true. So companies that are more profitable are actually beneficial. That's contribute more, for example, in terms of their corporate philanthropy. Okay. The authors of Human believe this anti-profit leads many voters and politicians to endorse anti-profit policies that are likely to lead to very opposite outcomes. Okay. Erroneous anti-profit may lead to systematically. So let's underline this. Okay. Through 7 separate studies involving hundreds of online participants, the researchers present evidence that the anti-profit bias arises because we think about for-profit motives in somewhat superficial, egocentric fashion. Because the desire for profit is seen as based on selfish intent, we extrapolate to assume that the activities of for-profit companies must be bad for society. Okay, so this is the reasoning. We can just write reasoning. Describing the reality as selfish intent 7, okay? We also refer to our own mundane, zero-sum experiences by which the seller's profit gain inevitably comes at our loss. Say mundane, zero-sum experiences. Could say second. Could say first. The profitable gain inevitably comes at our loss. We fail to consider how market, okay? For instance, in the first study, participants rated Fortune 500 companies in terms of how they were. There was a clear pattern. The more profitable participants thought a company was, the more they assumed that it was engaged in bad business practices. In fact, expert assessments of the firms show the opposite pattern. Okay, in another study, participants were presented with vignettes of different companies and either told they operated for profit. Participants rated the exact same companies engaging in the same business activities more likely to cause social harm and less likely to bring social benefit as for profit. Okay, I can't say that, and his team found that they could attenuate their participants' anti-profit bias if they prompted them to think about how long-term. Okay. However, thinking this. Okay, so let's underline this. It prompted them to think about how a long-term profit motive could encourage greater product innovation and equality, better achievement. However, thinking this way doesn't seem to come naturally. Participants' baseline agenda buffer problem were the same as when they were under. Okay. isn't the case in a free market profit-driven economy. The findings of an ingrained anti-profit bias generally hold regardless of particular economic knowledge. This was the U.S., so it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen if the same anti-profit bias will be found in other cultures. Yeah, yeah. Okay, just reading that part again. The main purpose of the passage is to analyze research that claims to show that an erroneous view is less widespread. Well, it's not less widespread, it's more widespread than we thought. Describe findings that show why many people maintain a specific illogical position even after recognizing it's false. No. Present data showing that a mistaken belief leads to negative outcomes for the people who hold it. And now I would say, discuss studies that showing that an inaccurate conception is firmly established within a particular population. Yes. And this is a good particular population, right? Because they said that we can't assume that it goes anywhere other than anywhere other than the United States. In context, the second paragraph right here, authors believe this anti-profit leads many voters and politicians to endorse anti-profit, but they are likely to lead to very opposite outcomes for society they want to achieve. Erroneous anti-profit may lead to some. Okay. And to suggest the possible origin of the anti-profit bias? No. Highlight potential consequences of the. Yes, that's good. Summarize the scholarly consensus. No. Suggest ways of overcoming the anti-profit bias. Yeah, I think it's B. As using 930 positive must merely means disregarding the reality that selfish intent. Okay, let's start here. Because the desire for profit is seen as based on selfish intent, we extrapolate to assume that activities of for-profit companies and industries must be bad for society, disregarding the reality that selfish intents can have positive consequences. I think can have certain consequences. It's not appreciative or maybe it's optimistic. It's not certain. So let's go back. Let's see, 930 positive. We extrapolate to assume that the activities of for-profit companies must be bad for society. So this is a contrast. Bad and it has to be good. Disregarding the reality that selfish intents can have beneficial. Yeah, beneficial. Yeah, that's best. Beneficial, good. Yeah. The passage most strongly suggests that one overlooked influence on the behavior of for-profit companies is the fact that increases in companies' profit typically increase losses by consumers. It is in companies' financial interest to act in ways that people regard favorably. Leaders of many companies are aware of. I don't think this is right. While companies themselves act in selfish ways, people working. No, we don't know anything about this. So it's one overlooked influence of the behavior of for-profit companies. Activity of for-profit industries must be bad, disregarding the reality that selfish intents can have positives. The fact that increases in companies' profits typically represent increased losses by consumers. It is in companies' financial interest to act in ways that people regard. Let's go back. Yeah. Calculate to assume that the activities for-profit and industries must be bad for society, disregarding the reality that selfish intents can have positive consequences. We also read in such a buying in which the seller's profitable gain inevitably comes at our loss. We fail to consider how market forces operate on a massive scale in which for-profit companies... So we fail to consider, this is what we overlook, how market forces operate on a massive scale in which competing in a free market need to innovate, behave fairly, and develop a good reputation in order to be profitable over the long term. We fail to consider how market forces operate on a massive scale in which for-profit competing in a free market need to innovate, behave fairly, develop... So we overlook... Okay, got it. So increases in that typically represent increased losses. I think it's B. It is in companies' financial interest to act in... Yeah, that one overlooked is the companies... Is if companies try to act in ways that people regard favorably. Yes, and the favorable part was the behave fairly, develop a good reputation in order to be profitable. Yes, I think it's B. Oh, wow, we had that. I didn't even realize. Okay, so it's right here. 35 to 33 to 38, yeah. As used in line 63, naturally most nearly means what? Naturally. Wait, what line was it again? I thought it was line 16. Oh, I thought it said 16, 63. Okay. Let's see. However, thinking this way doesn't seem to come naturally. I would say, it's not obviously intuitively. I think, no, that's not bad. Simply, commonly. I wouldn't say commonly. I think intuitively is the best. It wouldn't come intuitively, yeah. Yeah. It can reasonably be inferred from the passage that compared with U.S. people who are critical of capitalism, U.S. people who are supportive of capitalism are... Okay, this is likely to be... Okay, this is the lines. People who are critical compared with people who are supportive. It must be a long line, so I don't think it's 62 to 63. However, thinking this way doesn't... Well, okay. I found that they could attend to it if they promise to think about how long to work on great training. No, it's not 62 to 63. 63 to 68. I think that's the line. 63 to 68. Participants' baseline judgments about for-profit companies were the same as when they were actively encouraged to assume that customers face few choices and have no information about firms, which is in the case of... I don't know about that line. I would say maybe 69 to 71. The findings of an ingrained anti-profit bias generally held regardless of participants' economic knowledge or political leanings. That compared with U.S. people who are critical of capitalism, U.S. people are supportive of capitalism. This is weird. So the findings generally held regardless of their economic knowledge or political leanings. So yeah, that's a good line, because that tells us about the if you are someone who's supportive of capitalism or if you are critical. The findings generally held. So I think that's correct, which means that they are less willing to concede that the desire for profit... No, I wouldn't say that. They're more tolerant of socially harmful practices. I don't know about that one. Better at reducing their... No. They're equally bad at accurately valuing for effects on society. I think it's this one. Right? Because they're more tolerant. Because they said that the views, they generally held themselves. The findings, not the views. The findings of an ingrained anti-profit generally held regardless of their economic or knowledge or political leanings. Yeah. So it had no effect. think it's C for that one. $19. According to the figure, which industry the participants perceive to be the least profitable? Book publishers, right? Because we're going from left to right. Profit, it goes as we go from left to right, and it increases. So book publishers. I think that's easy. That was the easiest question. Based on the figure, which choice most accurately summarizes participants' views of the societal value of the pro sports industry? Pro sports had a great profit, but it had a low societal value. So it wasn't important to people, although it made, although it had a lot of profit. So while the industry has below average, it has more societal value than does the cell phones. No, I don't think that's true. Does it have more value than the cell phone? It does not. Although the industry has relatively little society value, society would not be better if the industry ceased to exist. This is based on the figure. How am I supposed to know if it would be better? So I would say, but probably mostly no. Fifth, we'll go back to that one. If the industry is inaccurately regarded as having inaccurately, it's accurately. The industry would have more societal value if the industry were more profitable. This is tricky. The industry would have more societal value. I'm thinking about this one. The industry would have more societal value if the industry were more profitable. Well, if the industry were more profitable, well, it has a great profit itself. So, I don't think it's based on elimination. I think this is not true because it already has a lot of profit itself, which means that we go back to B, and B is the answer based on eliminating all of the choices. Although the industry has relatively little society value, society would not be better. I guess, yeah, based on eliminating all the choices, B would be our answer. Because this is wrong for sure, C is wrong, and A is wrong. We did it. We checked the graphs. So, yeah. Thank you. Wait. Yeah. Right. We did the next two passages, right? Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Any questions, put them in the comment section. The next video will be the remaining 3 passages. Yeah. So far, not bad. Just a few problems that were kind of weird. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.